Hey, welcome back to Big Ben's Movie Show. We are back this week. We got a lot of cool things going on. We're going to be talking about Thor Ragnarok on the show. We're also going to be talking about some Star Wars Episode 8 news, and we're going to be talking about some binge-worthy stuff. We're going to break the rules a little bit on that, and we're going to do it all this week with my host, first time on the show, Forrest Hartman. Folks, this is an actual movie critic, actual movie guy. Technically, I am too, but there's a registry, and you are on a list of actual...
That's true. I'm with the Broadcast Film Critics Association, although I think you're just as much a critic as me.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, no, I was looking to join that group, and I found him on the list, and you're a local guy. You're here in Butte County.
That's true. Yeah,
That's awesome.
I call Oroville home, and proud to. I'm in Chico every day working, so yeah,
awesome.
It's great to be on the show.
Awesome, great to have you. All right, so go ahead and get started right away with the headlines this week. One of the weirder ones, so Star Wars Episode 8 is coming out here in December. It's going to be a big movie. Episode 7 was enormous, made piles and piles of money, set all kinds of box office records. Episode 8, they're thinking of doing the same thing. So the studio is doing something different. They have asked theaters that, one, the theaters are going to have to give up more of their money when the movie comes out. They normally it's a 60-40 split. Disney is now asking for 65% for themselves. And then they're also demanding that the theaters leave it on the screens for 4 weeks.
Right.
The big thing about this is in some of the rural areas, some of the smaller places where you don't have the big multiplexes and there's only 1 or 2 theaters in town, 1 or 2 screens, those theaters tend to roll through movies a lot quicker because if there's only 1 theater and something new comes out, I got to put that on there too.
Yeah.
I mean, is this kind of... I mean, do you think this is Disney throwing their weight around, or does this feel like it's justified based on how much money the movie's going to make?
Well, you know what? I almost always come down on the side of the exhibitor, if you ask me what I think. However, it's not completely new. I mean, you can look at blockbusters in the past. I've known people that run little indie theaters in communities like you're talking about, and that's always been a struggle for those guys. There aren't as many of them left, but yeah, if you've got the only screen in a town, particularly if you've got a single screen or 2 screens, it's really tough because you're sort of in trouble no matter what you do.
Exactly.
If you don't play Star Wars, everybody's going to the next closest city to see Star Wars. If you play it, it does great for your first weekend, and then it dies, and you're stuck holding it. So, it's definitely Disney throwing their weight around. Do I think it's a good thing for moviegoers overall? Not really.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think in terms of stuff like this, it's up to the exhibitor. I mean,
right. The
studio releases the movie, and that's their job. They release the movie, and then it's the exhibitor's job to choose how to show it, when to show it. That's up to them. And here's the other thing. Disney's also instituting that if you sign up for this plan of doing the 4 weeks, you can't change anything, or they'll take more money.
Oh, yeah.
They'll penalize you another 5%. So now you're only getting 30%.
Right. I mean, it's tough to be an exhibitor, too. I don't think people realize. Everybody complains about the popcorn and the sodas, but when you look at it...
That's all their money.
Yeah, since most movies, like you're talking about, the studio's taking most of the money.
Especially
on
so
the first week.
First 2 weeks, the studio's making, I think it's something like 90% the first weekend, if not more.
It depends on the film, but very often.
And then it's something like 80% the second. I mean, it's not until the 3rd and 4th week that the theater's really making much money at all on these tickets.
And if you look at the box office on the 3rd and 4th week for a film, it's really decreased at that point. I mean, I go to local theaters, and sometimes I'm sitting in there with two other people. You know, so.
Next up, and I hate that we're still talking about this, but it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. I think this is the 3rd or 4th week in a row now we're talking about more of these Harvey Weinstein-like allegations, but that's because it's gotten bigger, and like I guessed last week, it has now spread to the rest of Hollywood. Just this last week, we've had allegations against Kevin Spacey, Dustin Hoffman, Jeremy Piven, and Brett Ratner. The Kevin Spacey ones sound like they're going to be the worst because it started, I mean, when the first one came out from Anthony Rapp, star of Star Trek Discovery, which we'll talk about here in a minute, and then started with that, and now it's expanded out. So now there's multiple allegations from people throughout his whole life. And then initially the plan was, we're going to shut down House of Cards after next season. And you were like, well, maybe it's because of the allegations, and maybe it's just because the show ran its course. But then it went further. When more allegations came out, they completely canceled the 6th season of House of Cards, which they're halfway in the middle of doing.
Yeah, it's shocking, and I don't know. As a journalist, long time, I always, with charges like this, I say, hey, everybody's innocent until proven otherwise. But we're seeing so much of this that it's indicating there's obviously quite a problem in Hollywood, and it's really too bad.
It's rampant. It's terrible, and I really hope. I mean, the MPAA talked about it last week of instituting a code of conduct. Kathleen Kennedy wants a commission created within the industry to police all of that. I'm hoping something like that happens soon, because it definitely feels like it is a major problem.
I think so, and of course, it moves beyond Hollywood. Just this week, the news chief for NPR resigned because of allegations against him. So it's certainly not only a Hollywood issue, but there seem to be so many big names being implicated in Hollywood that it is an issue there.
I mean, it's been an issue in America since the early '90s. Sexual harassment. The guy with the hair on the Coke can and all that. That was the first one that I really heard about a lot. And then from then on, every single job I've ever had makes you watch a video and makes sure there's all this education. And I think the problem is that Hollywood became insulated from all that, and it didn't have to do all that. And now I think it's like, all right, it's your guys' turn.
Well, I think the movie industry is so different too, because everybody's a freelancer. Well, not everybody, but most people are freelancers. And when you're a freelancer, you're operating on your own code of conduct. You're not watching those videos. And really, the only person you have to answer to is the next person wanting to hire you for a job. And often, their bottom line is, will this make money? And I think because of that, it's a lot more likely to see problems like this pop up.
Yeah. All right, well, let's stop talking about all that terrible stuff. Let's talk about something fun, and that's Thor Ragnarok.
What have you brought today? Tell me.
A contender.
What? I need to go closer. I want to get a closer look at this. Can you take us closer? Thank you. Pay this lady.
Just wait a damn minute. I'm not for sale.
Man, he's a fighter.
It's main event time. And now, I give you your incredible.
Yes! We know each other. He's a friend from work. Oh, come on.
All right, so we both saw Thor, which was a really fun movie. What are your thoughts on Thor? What did you think?
Well, I think fun is the best adjective to describe it, because when you think of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, comedy is probably not the first word that comes to mind.
Maybe
You're
the
thinking
second.
action, adventure. Yeah, comedy is certainly part of the formula, but Thor Ragnarok's a little different in that if I had to classify it, I'd call it a comedy that has a lot of action in
Comedy
it.
first, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I completely agree. It was definitely a straight-up comedy movie. I mean, right from the opening moments of the movie, we are swinging for the comedic fences with Thor doing like a weird little monologue in a cage. It's definitely a comedy movie. I think on some level that comedy, the fact that they were driving towards it, to me hurt the jokes a little bit, because as I realized I was watching a comedy, I then became ready for the jokes. And then I needed them to be better. And it's a lot of them are typical Marvel movie jokes, which I normally really like in an action movie setting where they just sprinkle jokes in. But now that it's a straight up comedy, I need better jokes. I need more. So I liked him. I'm enjoying it. I'm laughing. But when I compare this movie to the other Marvel movies from this year, to Guardians 2, to Spider-Man Homecoming, movies that had comedy in them but were more, for Guardians there was more heart to it. Guardians was pretty close to being a comedy too.
Yeah, Thor is closer to Guardians of the Galaxy than most other Marvel movies.
But to me, Guardians had a lot more heart to it. I almost cried at a part of Guardians. When the poor little raccoon realizes that people can still love him even if he's a turd. And then Spider-Man 2 had these great heroic moments that moved me without making me laugh. This had, it was pure mirth. The only thing I felt was either laughter or yee at some of the great action scenes, and there were some amazing.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's interesting it impacted you that way because the comedy element didn't really bother me. Although I will say the movie felt light to me.
Yes.
It's not an epic story.
No.
Like you watch some of the other Marvel movies and you're like, oh, there's a real epic storyline going there. This one felt to me like, I don't know, when you're watching a dramatic TV series and they decide, we're going to take a break and have fun this time. That's what Thor Ragnarok feels like.
An episode of Star Trek where they're only going to be on the holodeck for the week.
Exactly.
Yeah, this really. But here's the thing, though. There were major ramifications of this movie.
Well, that is true.
Like within the Marvel universe, I'm not going to spoil anything, but holy cow, stuff is different now. I think for those of you that when you go out to see it, and definitely do see it. Don't think that I'm not saying don't see this movie. You absolutely should. And I'm saying that I did really like it. I'm just not sure if I loved it.
Gotcha.
That's kind of where I'm landing on this. I would guess. I mean, out of a 10, I'd probably go 7.
And it sounds like this would be consistent because I liked it, I think, a little more than you. I'd probably go an 8. I mean, I really enjoyed it for what it is. And like I said, I think they're trying to tell a lightweight story. They're trying to be funny. And I like Chris Hemsworth. I think he's a talented comedian. Yeah. I mean, he's not just the beefcake guy who can look like Thor. He's got good comedic timing.
Holy cow, the beefcakiness is present.
That's true.
What was that one scene where he's just walking around shirtless and for what seems like forever, and the whole time you're just like, listening, but my gosh, look at that. I didn't even know you could have a muscle there. Look at that. And his is all sculpted and nice. But no, it's you can really see the effect of him doing Ghostbusters and some of the other movies he's done. I mean, also National Lampoon's Vacation, he was hilarious in that. And especially now that we know that from Ghostbusters, most of what he did was improvised.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that blows my mind to hear that. I mean, that's the fact that he's in that room with 4 other ladies who are major comedians, and he is not only holding his weight but killing in that room.
Absolutely. I mean, I think people look at him and go, "Oh, he's an action star," and they see some of the roles he gets. But boy, his comedic timing is good. I think really he's funny anytime he tries to do comedy. So.
Yeah, no, it's a very funny movie. Interestingly, I'm seeing a lot of the other reviews also landing right in that 7, 7.5, 8. Kind of range. I think on Rotten Tomatoes, the average score right now is 7.5.
I think that's what I saw. Yeah.
Right in between where we are. So definitely go see Thor. I definitely recommend it. It is a really, really fun movie.
Absolutely. You're just looking for a night out. This is it. I mean, I don't think it's going to win any Oscars, or maybe in a technical category, but storytelling wise, no. But it is a good time.
Yeah, I got to say one of my favorite things too. The director voicing the Rock character, Korg, which and here's the thing, I've read the comic books, so I know Korg. I had never in my life pictured his voice to sound like that. But it just works so well. It was really, really funny. He's got that great New Zealand accent.
Absolutely.
Somewhere between British and Australian, with just this weird, zany, quirky bent to it. So funny.
I agree.
I think Rice Darby is the guy from Flight of the Conchords. He's their manager. It's such a funny accent. It's so interesting. It's great. All right, so that is it for Thor. Go see Thor. It was really, really good.
Yep.
Yeah. And we can't spoil anything, but some of the fight scenes were just. There's some really great epic fight scenes in this.
For sure.
So definitely go
Lots
see
of
that.
Hulk.
Lots of Hulk, which was good. The Hulk talked a lot.
Yeah, a lot more than in any previous movie.
I think this is more. He had more lines in this than he has combined in the entire Marvel canon, including his own movie.
True.
So, that was interesting to hear that much Hulk talking.
Yeah.
So, and actually, we saw a little Hulk butt just for a second. Saw some Hulk butt. So, if you're into Hulk butts, go see it for that alone. That's good stuff. Moving along now, we move to Binge-Worthy, talking about the stuff that is on Netflix that you have to see. And normally we just talk about Netflix, but we're going to break the rules here this week. Forrest picked Star Trek Discovery. Now, that is not on Netflix. That is on CBS All Access. But I allowed it for the show because I really like this show.
Yeah, well, and I'm breaking the rules, but I got to tell you, I did not subscribe to CBS All Access until Star Trek Discovery came out, and then I was like, I got to see what this is all about.
Yeah, I paid for it too. I didn't download it on the internet at all. No. Yeah, I did.
well, I did pay for it, and like I said, I was like, okay, I got to see what it's all about, and then I'm like, darn it, now I have to keep it because I really like the show.
I got to say, like the first 2 episodes in, I wasn't sure yet. And those first 2 episodes, the episodes that kind of set up the history of the show. They don't actually set up the show. The show doesn't get set up until the 3rd episode.
True.
Which is what we would probably consider the pilot of the show, because it's where you like go to the world of the show, you meet all the characters of the show. Because in the first 2 episodes, it's almost like it was a movie that was made as a prequel to the show.
Right.
Yeah.
And for people who don't know, if they haven't watched this is set like 10 years before Kirk and Spock and McCoy and all the people from the original Star Trek. So we're going way back.
Although you wouldn't tell it to look at it, because holy cow, this is the prettiest Star Trek that has ever existed. Which, when I thought about it and I realized 2004, I believe, was the last time Star Trek was on TV.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, so 13 years, and I think of all the developments we've made in digital, technology and digital cinema since then. Of course, it's going to be the prettiest one of all time. I mean, this is now where the guys making South Park have the same computer graphics that made Jurassic Park in the 90s.
For sure.
I mean, it does look like it's hard to remember that it's like, oh yeah, this is the same world that in 10 years in their future, they're going to be on a ship made of, cardboard and have buttons made of plastic.
Yeah, you'd be in trouble if you watched them in chronological order. Right?
Yes. Yeah. No, it would definitely be weird. There's a couple different things that they really changed in terms of the look of the show that initially I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get over. Specifically the Klingons.
Oh, right.
That drove me nuts. So Klingons in the original series basically just looked like Middle Eastern people.
Right.
And then in the Next Generation, they added more of the alien features, and they had the ridged foreheads, and we had Worf, and we learned about their heritage and their history as a people. And then, of course, in the later Star Treks, we learned more of this. But this one, they kind of rewrote the whole book on what Klingons are.
They did, which was an interesting choice. And I don't know if they were thinking, well, we can't go all the way back to what we did with the original series.
And I knew you couldn't do that, but why not go? Because now, at this point, we've had 4 other shows and several movies who have shown us what Klingons look like. And it's now fully known. Everybody knows what Klingons look like. And to go we're going to throw all that out and not start completely from scratch, but definitely it's like somebody told them what a Klingon looked like, and they went from there.
That was an interesting decision. I mean, I got over it because I just said, well, this is the world they're giving me. I'm going to watch it. But I can certainly see how people that are really picky about continuity will hone in on that, and I don't blame them.
Yeah, it threw me off for a little bit, but like you, I got over it because the writing of it was sound, and that's kind of the world that the show set up in, is in a war between the Federation, Starfleet, and Klingons.
And I've got to say, that's one of the things I love about the show is most Star Treks, I mean, there's always been battles, space battles, war, things like that, but most often it's a science mission, and then something goes wrong and there's a fight. This one, I mean, is the first Star Trek where really we're focused on war, and the captain of the ship, played by Jason Isaacs, I mean, he's a military captain. Yeah. His first interest is military objective, and he makes that quite clear, and that's often in opposition to how members of his crew feel, because that's not what they signed on for.
Yes, yeah, no, it's very different, and actually, for a couple of people that don't like the show, that's their big complaint is, what happened to exploration? What happened to science? What happened to... And all that's out the window, but they're really taking a page out of the last Star Trek TV show, which the last season of Enterprise shifted away from... That show started out as purely exploration and science, and when the ratings took a dip, they moved the entire show for the last 2 seasons into war. They created an entire war concept, and that was the last 2 seasons of the show, which a lot of people feel were the best seasons of that show, myself included, actually. I mean, I really liked the idea of doing a whole show about exploration, but at the end of the day, the writing was better when it was about war.
Right.
And that's exactly where this show is. And from episode 3 on, I have been hooked
Yeah, I think it's great. And it will be interesting to see if this show shifts as we go on, which I think is very possible because, like I said, there's definitely members of the Discovery crew that aren't on board.
Including the star of the show, Sonequa Martin Green. Her character feels very much like a traditional Star Trek character wanting to explore and don't shoot, let's understand. And Jason Isaacs is just, no, I want to shoot it all and we'll figure it out later. And very different for Star Trek. So, but yeah, Star Trek Discovery, if you're not watching it, be good little boys and girls and pay for it like Forrest. Or you can download it, it's on the internet. Don't worry about it. But either way, watch it because it's great. So, all right, so that is binge worthy for this week. Moving along now, we go to the end of the show, 5 questions. Here we go. Number 1, Quentin Tarantino has a new movie that he wants to make, but of course can't go to his buddy Harvey Weinstein for money anymore.
Right.
And is looking for a new partner. So he's kind of put it out to the world that I'm looking for someone new to help me make movies. And initially you would think that knowing the success that Tarantino has had, there would be a line of suitors out the door.
Right.
Do you think at the end of the day he's going to go with an indie company or with one of the big majors?
I mean, it's pure speculation on my part.
Speculation.
I'd like to see him go with an indie. I think he'll probably, at the end of the day, end up going with a major.
I think he will too. I think at the end of the day, as long as he can get what he wants from a major, which is control. As long as the major is willing to just give him money and leave, and I'll show up at the end of the day with the movie, and then you can go win Oscars or whatever. And I think he'll end up with an indie or with a major too. So next up, Goosebumps 2. 1, that's happening. And 2, and it's interesting because the image that I brought up that you guys are seeing right now of Jack Black, the headline for this image is, "Oh, they're making it, and Jack Black 2 is already signed up for it." That's changed. So they hired a new writer for the movie yesterday. Actually, they hired somebody to rewrite the script they had, and the new writer says probably not going to have Jack Black's character because Jack Black's character is R.L. Stine.
Right.
So they're saying now that he might not be in the movie. I mean, first off, good idea, bad idea, and I don't know if I'm talking about Goosebumps 2 or just having Jack Black in the movie.
Well, I'm not desperate to see Goosebumps 2, so I would say bad idea on that. And I would also say if you're going to have Goosebumps 2, you should probably have Jack Black.
He was kind of the big thing about the first one. Knowing though that Goosebumps is very much a kid's. I mean, my daughter loved it. She's 11 and she loved this stuff. She talked about the flying poodle for weeks. So knowing that, I think they could probably get away with it. Because here's the thing, that was about the writer of Goosebumps.
Right.
If they got away from that and just did a traditional Goosebumps story, I think they could probably get away with not having Jack Black.
Oh, probably. I mean, I think it could make money. I'm not going to be lining up to see it, but I'm also not the target audience.
No.
So
in fact, I think it might be able to make more money without Jack Black because Jack Black is probably one of the most expensive things in that movie.
That's a good point. Yeah, when you look at budget.
It's like the CGI Yeti, Jack Black, 1 and 2. Those are the 2 things. And then maybe craft services. So, all right. Number 3, the full cast of the Lion King live-action movie is out, and now we know that Beyonce will play Nala. Knowing now that it's got Beyonce and Donald Glover, who are both musicians, and that the original is kind of a musical, I think it's safe to assume they're going to be singing in this one too, right?
That would be my guess.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of a waste if they didn't, right?
Yeah, I mean, especially now that we saw Beauty and the Beast, and
Right.
they did a lot of the music there. In fact, they added songs to that one. So I would imagine that Beyonce is going to sing. If they're going to give somebody an original number, I'm hoping that it goes to Beyonce.
That would be my guess.
Yeah.
I mean, again, speculation, but it sure seems like they're set up for that.
Seems like that's how it would go. Yeah, I don't want Seth Rogen singing, so please don't make that happen.
Maybe he's better than you think.
I don't. Yeah, yeah. You know, a lot of people say I look like him, and I don't believe them. Right. Number 4, Stallone is now not just writing, but also directing Creed 2. Now, is this movie going to be bad like Rocky 4, or is it going to be bad like Rocky 5? And what I mean by that, Rocky 4 was that good bad.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's cheesy, but I still enjoy it and had a good time. And Rocky 5 was just bad.
And the answer is I don't know. Every time I see him wading into this territory, to be honest, including when I heard about Creed, I'm like, oh, bad idea. But then Creed turned out to be really good.
But Creed, he didn't have his hands on at all. Like he just showed up to act.
True.
And then so the Kugler, is it Kugler or Coogan? It's Kugler. Coogan?
You know what? I want to look it up too. We're both looking silly now.
It's not, because Coogan is the Stephen Coogan, so it's Ryan Coogler.
Yeah,
I think.
right. I think.
So here we go.
You're right.
So it's Coogler, and he directed it last time, and somebody else wrote it. But remember, Stallone has an Oscar for writing for the original Rocky movie.
True.
Which I think we all forget that it's like, wait, the Expendables guy wrote a movie and it was good, and it's like, oh yeah. At one point, he was a sought-after writer in Hollywood.
And that film wouldn't have happened without him. I mean,
Exactly.
that was a passion project.
But at the end of the day, especially since he's already talked about what it's going to be, and apparently it's going to have the son of Ivan Drago in it, I'm thinking it's going to be Rocky IV. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a very almost carbon copy of Rocky IV. Which I am both dismayed and heartened by. So yeah,
you're probably right.
I liked where Creed was going, but at the same time, I like Rocky IV. So if you make another, we can get along, we can all get. I'm fine with that too. Yeah. So yeah, number 5, should they make a Thor 4 after the success of those? Because normally in the Marvel world so far, all of these superheroes have had their trilogy, and then so far they have stopped.
Right.
But Taika Waititi has already said that he wants to direct another one, specifically a Thor. He actually says that he doesn't want to do another Thor story. He wants to do the sequel of this exact movie.
Okay. Well, I'm on board with it. I mean, this one was so much fun, but I've got to say, any more Marvel Cinematic Universe, I don't know, they all feel like Avengers films to me, where they're just focusing on different characters. Yeah. So to me, Captain America Civil War, was it a Captain America movie?
Avengers 2.5.
Yeah, sort of, and I felt sort of the same way with Thor. There's so much Hulk in that movie that...
Yeah. Oh, Doctor Strange showed
Doctor
up.
Strange, that to me they almost don't stand alone as character movies anyway. So I'm on board with it.
Yeah, at this point I'm happy just with more Marvel movies. I mean, now we're on pace right now. We're going to get a Marvel movie every 3 months for the next 6 months. So we have Thor. 3 months from now we get Black Panther. 3 months after that we get Avengers. Yeah, that's pretty great. If you can keep up that pace of a Marvel movie every 3 months, and then sprinkle like Justice League and Star Wars in there too. I'm a happy little nerd.
Yeah, as long as they keep the quality up, and so far with the Marvel movies, they're doing it. They've been really good.
I've been digging them. Yeah. So make Thor 4, and for that matter, I'd be okay with an Iron Man 4 and a Captain America 4, and all of that, just more of it. Yeah. It's, as far as I'm concerned, all of those actors should stop making anything else. They should just make Marvel movies for the rest of their lives. So, all right. Well, that is the show for this week. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions about the show, issues about the show, or if you just want to say hi, you can email me. It's bigbms@zoho.com. bigbms@zoho.com. If you want to hear more of what I have to say, and why wouldn't you? I'm such a pleasant fellow. You can listen to my podcast, Die Hard on a Blank. It's available on the Geek Wars Podcast Network. Forrest, where they can find you? Anything?
Well, they can always look me up at forresthartman.com, and it's just been a real pleasure to be on your show.
Oh, we've loved having you. So I think Forrest will come back. You come back.
Well, thank you.
All right. Well, thanks so much for watching, everybody. Check back. We're not going to be here next week. I am out of town, and I didn't want to get I know I've gotten fill-ins in the past, but we're not going to do that next week. So check back in 2 weeks. We're going to be talking about Justice League with Trevor Allen. Trevor's coming back on the show. So see you then. Bye-bye, everybody.